the CHP, the California Highway Patrol, is responsible for inspecting the commercial vehicles coming from Mexico. Ideally, that is what happens is the Mexican truck drivers brings the product that was made in Mexico to our side, and then American truck drivers take it to its final destination, whether some of them go to the Long Beach port or other areas.
Now, when you got in charge here and NAFTA's in control, did you notice pushback from the American side, or what was the reaction?
That's an interesting question.
Today, I'm back down at the US-Mexico border, specifically in Otay Mesa. You can see the border wall behind me. But today, we are going to talk about commercial traffic, specifically the commercial trucking industry that facilitates products between US and Mexico. My good friend Hector, who was in the California Highway Patrol Service for 36 years and ran this facility for 7, is going to share some insights that he has into what it takes to operate and make sure that vehicles are safe coming across the border, as well as just a general perspective on it. He is humble and kind, but extremely knowledgeable. Let's hear what he has to say.
Is sunglasses okay?
Sunglasses are all right. However you want it.
All right.
Okay, Hector, what are we looking at behind you here?
It's kind of exciting since I haven't been down here in about, many years. I worked down here at the CHP Commercial Vehicle Inspection Facility from '01 to middle of '08, 2008. And back then, just like now, the CHP, the California Highway Patrol, is responsible for inspecting the commercial vehicles coming from Mexico.
Okay, so now do I have this right? Like these mountains behind us here, that's Mexico?
Yes, you can actually see the fixed metal walls that delineate California, the United States, from Mexico.
Gotcha. Yeah, and we're lucky. This is I got the insider tour that you just walked me through. Fortunately, I can't film there. Wish I could. So the goal here is to stop every commercial vehicle and inspect them for safety coming from Mexico to the U.S.
Yes. Okay. Essentially, the CHP, as it used to be when I worked for the department, is responsible for vehicle transportation in California. So the commercial vehicle industry falls within the CHP's purview. So you'll see scales throughout California that weigh commercial vehicles, right? And they do complete what's called a level 1 inspection in accordance to certain federal requirements. So those same federal requirements are being basically implemented here at the border with 2,000 to 3,000 trucks. Now I understand they're up to almost 4,000 trucks that come across those scales behind me. So there are 2 dynamic scales where commercial vehicles, after they've cleared U.S. Customs, because they're coming from factories in Mexico, like the Toyota plant that builds the Tacoma, I understand. We learned today they're still building them down there. So the Mexican drivers will pick up the load. They'll go to U.S. Customs, which is about a half a mile down the road.
Okay.
After they clear Mexican Customs, they go to the U.S. Customs. They get inspected there for the responsibilities that they have, and then they come down there are 2-lane roads that bring them exclusively to the commercial vehicle station, and where they are weighed and have a complete inspection, at least one full complete inspection every 3 months.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's a 3-step process going, if you are a Mexican truck driver and truck trying to get here, Mexico's got its own inspection, USDEA, and that's more
U.S.
Customs.
Right.
Thank you. And so that's more on the drug illegal immigration side?
Yeah, I mean, you would have, immigration, you would have contraband issues that they're looking for. And contraband could be, foods that are supposed to be declared. So they have their own responsibilities that they look for. However, the CHP at this inspection facility, it's staffed by CHP officers, right? And they have a lot of training as well. Many of them have additional training in drug interdiction. Just like I think you spoke to the commander, he had some experience in that area. So, there are cops that work there, and they're another form of supervision in that area. But their primary focus, the CHP officers, at least it used to be when I was there, and it sounds like it has continued with the CIVISs, or the commercial vehicle inspection specialists. They're looking to make sure that the truck meets all these federal requirements to enter California.
Okay.
Including the driver's license.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I see. So as I look behind you here and I see the occasional vehicle come through, if they're on the streets here, it means they've passed everything, they're good to go.
Yeah, for the most part, there's a sticker that is put on by the officers or the inspectors, right, by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. And they know that depending on what corner it used to be is removed, when it's put on, they know what quarter of the year it is.
Okay.
So that way they can tell when it's coming across the scales when approximately in what quarter was that commercial vehicle inspected. Not to mention they're weighing them, because it's 80,000 pounds is the maximum that you can transport in a commercial vehicle in California. California, or used to be when I worked, they only allowed a set of double trailers to be pulled. Occasionally you see that down the highway, but as opposed to other states, they allow even triples, trailers. So, but this whole industry that we have in the Otay Mesa, as he said, they do $40 to $60 billion in commerce. So it's very important, to keep. They figured out how these Mexican drivers can come up here, and part of the new trade agreement that was enacted in 2020 that allows those truckers to bring the product from Mexico, the factories. There used to be Pioneer, Bose, all these new, I don't know if they're still there, but Toyota's still there. And they bring them up here, and they're called drayage haulers. They haul them up into the commercial zone, right, which is the San Diego County region. I think most of them drop them off just on this side of the border, and they go back down, they try to get another load.
Right. That's kind of this is a whole industry that I had no idea existed, where the goal is to just get it across the border and then almost like hand it off.
Absolutely. I think that's a great way of looking at it. I think ideally that is what happens is the Mexican truck drivers brings the product that was made in Mexico to our side, and then American truck drivers take it to its final destination, whether some of them go to the Long Beach port or other areas.
And so, is that all around here? Is that why we see so many trucks? Because they're it's just the business of really. This is in a way ground zero for U.S. Mexico.
Well, it's part of it for sure, right?
Okay.
You have Laredo, El Paso area that does, I think, pretty significant amount of commercial traffic. There's another one in Tecate. There's another one in Calexico on the California border. And apparently they're going to open a bigger one here shortly at the inspection facility here. So this is definitely a very pivotal point in the commercial industry, right, in goods and products.
Okay.
So it's important that all the three entities work, seamlessly. I know that when I worked here, we had a wonderful relationship with U.S. Customs, or CBP, Customs and Border Protection, as well as the Mexican authorities on the other side.
Sure. Now, can I ask, and I know you'll tell me, I'll keep asking questions. You tell me if I can't answer. This truck that has been sitting for a while right here, is he getting pulled?
Well, he was actually being weighed.
Yep.
So he might have been told to slow down, and they're weighing axle weights.
Oh, okay.
So they can then add those up.
Yep.
If they have, and it looks like he is being asked to pull over. So an officer or an inspector, He's been flagged for something, not for a complete level 1 inspection, or else he would have been directed to go all the way around and go to one of the bays for a full pit inspection.
Okay.
Right. This facility has 4 subterranean pits, right? But it looks like, yeah, you can hear them. We're telling him to stop. They're going to want to look at his paperwork, his driver's license, and they'll probably do what's called a level 3 inspection, or it used to be called a level 3 inspection, when they do a kind of a cursory looking at things that should be in proper order.
Okay. And you're thinking, because it seems like there's several layers to this.
Yes.
The first being
Level 1.
Yeah. Okay.
And I can't even remember what's in there. Level 2, I think some of them involve hazardous materials. That involves another level of safety when they're hauling, the manifests and everything, the kind of containers that they're using. So those have to be evaluated.
And so now, so that I know, all of the trucks we see, are they the companies that own them? Are they American companies? Are they Mexican companies? Are these American trucks, Mexican trucks? What are we looking at?
It used to be, again, when I worked here, many of these companies here in the border, they owned both. They owned businesses on the Mexican side, and they owned businesses on the American side.
Okay.
And that's the way. So essentially they had to meet the requirements here as well as down there. And it used to be how it worked. I wouldn't be surprised it sounded after speaking with the CHP commander here now. It sounds like nothing's changed too much.
So, yeah. So now, and that's maybe I jumped over a little bit. So now, like Toyota of Mexico wouldn't also have Toyota Mexico trucking fleet. It would be like a third-party company that's doing this.
Yeah, it seems like, as far as I know, Toyota does not haul their own. Right. Because it's the vendors, I imagine, the merchants that make arrangements with the trucking companies to go get the product, right? That works with Toyota to bring it across. I imagine, obviously, Toyota has to be a player in that.
Sure.
Right. Sure.
Okay, so now, and I know I jumped into it because it's so exciting, but you used to run this facility
A long time ago.
not that long ago.
2001 to 2000, like mid 2008.
Okay.
Yes.
So you did 7 years here.
Something like that, yeah.
You're very much here to facilitate
The
cross-border traffic.
Absolutely. Cross-border traffic in the safest way possible, ensuring that it met the requirements that need to be met.
Now, when you came on, NAFTA had recently begun?
I believe so,
Okay.
yes. Mm-hmm.
And did you notice, I guess it's hard to know prior to NAFTA, but at least with NAFTA, there was a huge uptick in border traffic.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, yeah. I mean, that was the whole purpose of it, and I think that was beginning to come to fruition because this facility was built in '96.
Okay.
Right, so they knew that something was going to happen, and they were working to make sure that we were prepared to do that. And now they're looking to expand down the road for something even bigger, right? Because of the global market that we live in, right? I mean, things are made other places and go to different places, right?
Prior to '96, I mean, there's always been cross-border.
I believe so. I don't know how it was. I mean, we still regulated it for sure, but it wasn't as efficient as it is now, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems very structured, very standardized.
Yeah.
Where we're at.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, when you got in charge here and NAFTA's in control, did you notice pushback from the American side, or what was the reaction?
That's an interesting question. NAFTA was fairly new, and there was concern. I could see why there would be concern from the trucking associations, the American truckers on this side, right, that the Mexican truck drivers or trucking industry might be infringing or encroaching on their business up here. So there was a safety concern by some of those associations or those groups. It was a valid concern for sure, and that the truckers were not qualified or the equipment was not safe. So we could deal with some of that interest. I won't call it blowback or anything, but it was definitely an interest by those associations or those groups. And I was very proud to say at the time, and I'm sure it continues to this day, that the Mexican truck drivers that have a very special interstate type or international driver's license, which is the most coveted, most difficult to get in Mexico, or it used to be. They were very well credentialed, and their trucks, older equipment, some of it older American equipment, but it was very well maintained. And the reason we know that is because we saw it every day, right? We inspected it, we weighed it, and so I, at least here at this facility, and I know that the other inspection facilities in California, I could attest to those folks that were interested, that California was very interested in making sure that the Mexican trucks coming up here into the commercial zone to drop off their loads, they were safe.
I see. Okay, and so the Mexican truck driver license, I guess, so you have to have that. It's a special license that you have to have.
Yeah, they have to have, just like here, you have to have a certain class commercial driver's license to drive in the United States. In California, you're supposed to have a medical certificate as well, right? They do the same thing over there.
Okay.
Now, what was different, though, is that if they lost their license, like over there at random on the Mexican customs side, they would at random go and have them get urine tests. They had, these certain substances they were looking for. They would suspend their licenses, and the only way at that time to appeal to get the license back is that truck driver had to go to Mexico City. Right. Okay. So it was very, very coveted. As we inspect their driver's licenses, we look at their medical certificate. At least I know when I was here, and I'm sure they continue to do that here. They met all of our requirements. And sometimes we were actually inspecting Mexican trucks more than our American trucks, because our American trucks are not hitting scales all the time.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah. If you're
so they could avoid a scale facility. Now the CHP does have a program with, it's called Mobile Road Enforcement. They have these pickup trucks with portable scales and commercial officers that drive around, and they're looking for that sticker to see when that truck was examined.
Okay, gotcha. But if you are operating a truck across the border, if it's not this facility, you're going to hit one of them. There's no way to get across. There's no way to bypass.
No. Just like a pedestrian.
Sure.
Right. There's only certain access points.
Okay.
I mean, there are some folks, I'm sure they try to go a different path.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be real difficult with an 80,000-pound big rig.
Now, has the border always, was it always here?
Yeah.
In your time?
Yes.
Okay.
We used to drive out there just to see it.
Did you?
Yeah. I mean, the border. And the reality is, if people have that need, they're going to find a way to come.
Sure. Sure. I hear you.
It's trying to eliminate the need.
Yeah, that was one of the surprising things. I mean, I guess I'm used to crossing the Tijuana border, which is pretty heavily.
San Ysidro.
Yeah, San Ysidro. Thank you. Yeah, and that is pretty heavily. I mean, I guess I would use the term militarized, or at least built up.
Yes, I think it's one of the busiest ports in the world, right, for cross-border traffic of pedestrians and tourists and what have you, both north and south. But this side and on the other side, you can kind of see that the factories, they're called maquiladoras, on the other side of those walls.
Oh, interesting.
So those are factories.
Yeah.
And that's why the trucks are coming from this area, and that's why this facility is here. And I believe they're going to break ground. I'm going to build another one over there, right, at the CHP. And
an additional inspection facility.
It sounded like, I think we got a picture of that, right? So, yeah, and like I said, we used to see 25 to 3,200 trucks a day, Monday through Friday, and the CHP commander was saying that they see as many as 4,200.
Sure.
So the region has grown. which would tell me that the demand for products, right, has also grown in our region because they're building more, producing more. So it's kind of interesting, yeah.
Now, I didn't realize that the factories are so close to the border in terms of producing. I thought that was deeper in Mexico, but it's right here.
Right. Now there are trucks that come from like San Quintin, or used to be when I was here back in the day, where a lot of farming, agricultural products.
Okay.
My understanding, there's a pretty high percentage of Mexican produce that comes to the United States.
Yep.
Came from right, way deep into, into Mexico.
Okay.
So of course, there were hours of service that they had to make sure the drivers, maintained. Because if you drive too many hours, you have to have so many hours rest.
Right.
But a lot of your hard goods are fabricated or manufactured just on the other side of the border here.
How many loads a day are these drivers doing? Is one?
That's a great question. I think we forgot to ask him. Ideally, they want to do a couple. It sounded like there was a, quote, a speed bump that was slowing things down. So I'm just, my inference from the commander that works here now is that they're doing more than one. Yeah, probably two. And normally most of the truck drivers here, it used to be that they didn't own their equipment. In the U.S., that's something that's different. There are a lot of owner operators. They own their own tractors. So the tractor is the actual machinery that pulls the trailer.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Whereas these tractors owned by somebody else. Probably, the business that has the trucking business on this side and on that side.
The driver's just the driver. He doesn't. The equipment's not his.
Correct. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, most of the time. Every now and then you might find one, but the reality is most of the drivers are not owner-operators coming from Mexico.
That's got to be at least a little bit frustrating if you're a driver that has worked so hard for a special license.
Yeah.
And now, correct me if I'm wrong here, they're probably, or at least in your time, compensated per load.
Correct.
So if you get pulled.
Yeah, that means he's being impeded from dropping off his trailer here in the commercial district somewhere and hopefully trying to get another load. So if they're making, for the sake of discussion, $75 is probably more now, or $150 a load. That's, for Mexican standards, it used to be fairly decent compared, as a skilled laborer. So if you can get down to 2 loads, right, the simple math there, it's much better for the driver. Sure. And again, that's why it's really encouraging that they want, at least it was when I was here, they want to comply, they want to meet our requirements in California so they can get up here, have no problems getting through the various different facilities, right? And then drop off the commercial vehicle, the trailer, get down, try to get back in the queue and get another one across.
From talking to you and hearing some of the other officers talk, it sounds like the view is very much this is an opportunity from Mexico's side that they want to make sure they want to make sure everything is running in accordance with all of the standards.
I think I think no different than in the U.S. Most folks want to operate legitimately. They just want to know what the rules are, right? What licenses they need, and et cetera. And I find that when I worked here and worked with the the Mexican businesses and the Mexican authorities as well, they knew that how we operate. We want people to just comply, and we will help them comply and facilitate that crossing. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.